Gentlemen, we have
Adam,
assembled. How are you?
I'm not too bad. How are you?
I feel amazing. Anytime I get to go to Montreal to see the Habs win a game, especially against the Leafs, it just makes me feel warm and fuzzy inside. I feel great.
Good.
Train wasn't bad.
No, that's fair.
No. Sorry, Daniel. What?
Oh, how was the train ride?
We didn't. It wasn't a train. The family
okay.
and my mother and stepfather and I, we drove on Saturday morning. Got to Montreal probably around like 2 o'clock, and just chilled in the hotel and then left first thing this morning. My brother and his lovely fiance watched dogs first while we were gone, and it was great.
The drive's what, 7 hours?
No, it's less than that.
6?
I want to say we left at 8:30, 8:31. We were on the road and we got to Montreal at 2. It's not that bad.
I have a question.
I can't do that.
Stepfather is
no.
also a very fast driver.
Yeah.
Wait, so did you guys? Okay, my question hinges on: did you guys take a pit stop?
Yeah, we stopped in Shannonville. No, Marysville for gas on the way back. I think was Shannonville.
Okay, what's your go-to food when you stop during road trips?
We pack food because the thing is we want to stop once, and Shannonville and Marysville have cheaper gas. So we don't do it the on routes. Plus, the prices are up there. So we make food before. So I made some nice buttered toasted bagels with some bacon before. Made some tortellini the night before too, and had that ready. So yeah.
Oh, special. So Shannonville, if you are listening to this, we are the 2-in-1 podcast.
You in Marysville, thank you for having cheaper gas.
We are open to sponsoring you for the cheaper gas and the local businesses on this podcast.
All weed shops, especially in Marysville. All weed shops.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny.
So it's just like Toronto.
Yeah.
It's just like Queen Street, basically.
Yeah.
Exactly. Excuse me if you're watching, you see a red mark between my eyebrows. I stupidly had shaved a little bit of hair. If you were nose to nose, you could see a bit, but for some reason I think I can grow a unibrow, so I try and avoid it. And I accidentally cut myself 3 times with the razor, so I look very bad. So sorry about that. Anyway, we can talk about the game. One of my dogs is outside my door because I can hear him sniffing. It's Fat Tubson, what a great dog. To open the show, the Habs, or more accurately, Jake Allen beats the Toronto Maple Leafs on a 49 save performance. Guys, I'll get into the in-person experience as always, but what are your guys' thoughts on the game? Alex, you're the Leafs fan. Let's start with you.
If I'm being 100% honest, I actually thought they played well. I didn't think it was necessarily a horrible game, and at the same time, I don't think I'd say they got goalied. I know that's a popular term that usually gets thrown around a lot when a goalie makes a lot of saves, but I actually thought the team played quite well. And I saw Sheldon Keefe's quote after the game, pretty much saying the same thing. I think what it came down to is a lot of a few silly mistakes where Montreal took advantage of them. And I mean, if we go back to last year, that's what Montreal was good at. That this shouldn't come as a surprise to anybody who watched last year, playoffs, regular season. So I thought they played a good game, but again, those silly mistakes cost them in the end.
It was funny that it felt like for a majority of the game, Montreal just tried to break up the left side of the ice, and then they learned flip it to the right. We might actually have a zone entry, which was kind of embarrassing. Ignored they had one shot for the first 50 minutes of the game. But yeah, the Leafs, I mean, I don't think that. What was the quote from Sheldon? I'll take 82 of those.
Yeah.
So we'll take it. Dan, what about you?
Yeah, for me, it was just one of those games where the Leafs did play their game. It was clearly evident, 51 shots. It's just what you said, and Montreal was able to kind of capitalize when the Leafs weren't at their best, and it was a lot of time, a lot of little times throughout the game. The goaltending was fine. He faced 18 shots. Shalgren, my apologies. He faced 18 shots, but he just didn't look like he was fully stretched out for much of it. And then that's what happens when the goals happen. I know Will Baldwin has come on and he's mentioned before that when a goalie doesn't get a lot of action all the time, that's probably the roughest thing that could happen for them in the game. Yeah. And I think he was sharp, but it was 4-2 because of the empty netter, but it was a close 3-2 when you look away from the shots.
I thought Montreal were extremely lucky to win the game, to be honest. the Savard goal when it happened, I was my first thought was beside the fact, we tied the game, hype, screaming, shouting as I always do. My thought was, why is Savard so far up in the play?
Right.
You know what I mean? I was like, well, wait a minute, you should not be this far up. But we'll take it. And then what was the second goal was Caulfield, which you're not going to stop that. It's funny, the Leafs started to pick up on when teams are starting to the sort of seam pass that Suzuki and Caulfield have. So then naturally, and this is why you run a power play the way you do, is that opened up Weidman a lot more. And then once he had it over the Caulfield, there was just no chance. And shout out to Caulfield going straight to that Leafs fan on the glass.
That was funny. That was funny.
Shout out to the Leafs fan for not flipping him off, as some fans do. That guy was just having a good time of it. That was really cool to see.
It was funnier, I think, with the thumbs down. I don't know. It's just kind of that level of like, I don't agree with this. And I enjoyed it more than whether or not if I saw like a middle finger.
He clearly didn't have too much to drink. I think that's like the threshold. That's the line, right? If you have too much to drink, you're probably going to flip somebody off. But if you don't have too much to drink, you'll just give him a good old thumbs down.
Mm-hmm. I had someone who, by the third period, the row behind me, who clearly had too much to drink because his French was becoming more slurred and very loud throughout the night. I couldn't even understand some of it at some point. I can sort of distinguish some stuff in French, but that guy was like, I don't know what you're doing anymore. A guy beside me kept trying to tell me who Josh Anderson was. I'm like, yeah, I know.
Oh, Josh Anderson. Who's Josh Anderson?
Yeah, he was like, yeah, it's Josh Anderson. I'm like, I know.
Did you tell him that we almost broke that trade when we almost went live?
No.
For the draft. Didn't it happen just before the draft, did it not? Literally mere hours, yeah.
Wow.
I don't, my memory's not great for that.
But. I believe so. I'd have to double check, but I believe it happened then.
I'm just wondering, why did he want to tell you who Josh Anderson was?
At some point, so in the first period when Caulfield knocked down Alex Kerfoot? Mm-hmm. How funny was that? I was like, I went to my mom, I'm like, was that Caulfield? And I'm like, I didn't know he had it in him. And the guy next to me, he was like, I'll fall 5-6 of them. And then he just kept making, as it went, it like opened the door for him to keep saying things to me. It was just kind of like, I know it's just like, at some point when it felt like he was trying to explain the game to me. And I'm like, dude, I didn't tell him to shut up, but I was just kind of thinking, I'm like, dude, I know how this works.
And then you pulled out your phone, you opened Apple Podcasts, because that's the app. And you said, look,
I have a podcast.
You didn't ask him when the 3-pointers happen? No.
Well, the thing, I'm the type of guy at the game who does the announcing with the thing. Number 22, coffee, and with the assist. Like, I'm not kind of fan, right? So I
your way.
I knew who Joel Edmondson and Josh Anderson were, and he was like breaking down Romanov's play. I'm like, I know. It was just completely. I didn't encourage it. I wasn't like, hey. Talk about that game. You just kept talking. I'm like, okay.
Did he also have too much to drink?
He only started drinking in the third period, funny enough.
Only in the third period.
Yeah, which was like...
That's like the complete opposite.
Yeah, he got all his food and drink in the third. He came back. I'm like,
That's interesting.
What are you thinking, sir?
That's an interesting tactic.
That's not the way it works. I'll get like a coconut at the start of the game, and I'll probably have it done by the first, maybe the second. But that's just weird. I don't like it. A stressful game to be at, though. It's always a stressful game. Did you guys know by the end of the night, the Habs were playing with 10 forwards, by the way?
Yeah, I read that. I just was surprised that happened.
I didn't even know what happened, but somehow Pitlick and Pizzetta got hurt. And then it was just down to 10 for the rest of the game.
No, I did. I knew Pizzetta had gone down the tunnel. I did not realize Pitlick as well. Wait, which Pitlick? I feel
Tyler.
Okay. That's a legit. I know it's funny, but like it's a legitimate question, right? Tyler and Rem now are both playing.
Tyler wears 24, and I'm like, no. I don't know why you did that. You should be allowed to do that. That's a rule. 24, and it's just. I remember when Adam Brooks had it for that pinch that he was here for.
Yes,
that was wild. Jake Allen, just my goodness. We're gonna talk about the Oilers later. But remember earlier in the year when I'm like, you know what the Oilers should do? Go Jake Allen. Mm-hmm. I think they should have gone. Anyway, what a performance. That blocker save, especially he made, my goodness. What we should probably talk about from the game is the game-winning goal from our boy Paul Byron. Was it a trip on Matthews? Or, because some people are making the argument that they sort of, it wasn't a trip. It's just he went into Byron's skate. And what might be looking like him kicking Matthews' skate, maybe him taking off and taking a first stride. I want to get your guys' opinion on it.
So for me, I think it depends on the way you define it. I saw a few different angles, I guess, this morning. And I saw a few different arguments this morning as well, where I think one of them was, it was accidental, right? Dangle, I rewatched the stream this morning and the LFR, and Dangle made that, or Steve Dangle, sorry, made that argument that it was accidental and it wasn't a trip. I saw a play earlier this year where it was accidental and they still called it a trip. So again, if it's accidental, I guess no, it's not really a trip. And then in that case, Paul Byron did not trip Austin Matthews. I guess it's just the way you define it. And again, that's got to be the most NHL answer I've ever given. But I would say no, it is not a trip.
I like how Alex got to the conclusion of it, because the way you kind of went about it is how I also felt.
Yeah.
Because again, when it comes to these plays, and you mentioned that these things have happened in the past, there's never really one set of principles for it. It's just, was it by accident? Okay, I'll take that excuse right now, or I use that reasoning right now to say this was different from another event. So for me, it did not look like a trip. It looked like it was an incident, like accidental thing. But I don't know, for the timer when it happened in the game, it's also something I also consider as well. We're okay, is this something that would factor into the result of the game, or what happened next?
And that's where it is. So I do believe it was a penalty. I do. In the moment, I'm like, who cares? Because my team's not winning. And this is the third game I've been to this year. They hadn't won the first two. Remember the Colorado game? That was the jersey on the ice.
Right.
Yeah. So I wanted to win. My heart rate wanted it too. So I did think it was a trip, accidental or not. If you shoot someone, you still shot them. Doesn't matter if you meant to or not. That's extreme, but it should have been a penalty. And I mean, I wonder if the refs did think it's too late in the game. We can't call that, which they've done it before. It was very interesting that the first period, there were no calls. At the start of the second, Sheldon Keefe was actually having a conversation with the refs. And then me watching, I'm like, I swear, don't let this happen. And then in the second, the Habs got all the calls. And then in the third, the Leafs had all the calls. And you're like, okay, so this isn't a coincidence, is it? And it wasn't like they were on Montreal's side. Like the cross-check that Joel Edmondson got, I was like, that's a fair call, but Ben Sherratt would get away with that kind. That was the Shea Weber Ben Sherratt special. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the guy sitting next to me was like, yeah, you got a cross check. I'm like,
Thanks.
yeah, I saw. Yeah, no, I saw it.
I'm aware.
I saw. I yelled "Holy bleep" when it happened. Yeah. It dictated the game. It won Montreal the game. I mean, we've seen what Paul Byron can do with some speed on the breakaway against the Leafs before. Game one, how's it going? Sorry, Alex. Yeah, let's see. I got my 3-1 shirt, and it's one of the big. Find the picture for that goal, by the way. It's incredible photography. Okay. I want to quickly talk about something to do with the Leafs side of things. Okay.
Alrighty.
After the game, Mr. Sheldon Keefe said he was not satisfied with the way William Nylander was playing.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. And actually, I think I noticed. I think Nylander might have had a partial break, or he had a really, really good play at some point in the game, but I didn't notice him a ton in the game.
And he scored.
Yeah, and he, you know what? I want to point this out. Everyone, Matthews always lights up Montreal too. I always say this: Nylander is quietly one of the biggest Habs killers in the league. I swear. Even that off year he had after signing his contract, he lit Montreal up. He always does. It's incredible. I hate it. But he talked about that with Nylander. The second line continues to be criticized, and people were talking about splitting up Marner to Matthews to get Tavares going again. And the other guy is Wayne Simmons. The reason I mentioned both of them is, listen, Nylander is a different conversation. Simmons is on a bit of a cold streak, apparently.
A little?
We know that Nick Abercrombie has just been signed, so that's pretty cool. And we know that a big part of not trading him or Matthew Knives as they wait for him to show up because I think he's still playing right now.
Yeah, I'll double check it.
It's going to be to test out some of that fourth line. And well, that's really it. Is how do you guys see Simmons playing lately? Because you obviously watch him more than I do.
Like he's not been great. Like that's a fact. And again, like I think that's something that fourth line and Wayne Simmons isn't the only guy on that line who hasn't performed. Jason Spezza hasn't been fantastic. We got healthy scratched a couple weeks ago. But again, like I wonder, you know, these guys are older. I wonder if we're getting to that point where it's like you acquired this depth with the ability to rotate these guys in and out. You still have Kyle Clifford down in the AHL. You have Nick Robertson down in the AHL. Like it was very surprising when it happened. Kyle Clifford looked okay on that fourth line. Is it a permanent solution? I'm not sure, but you know, when the playoffs come around, I wouldn't be surprised if there's some rotation down there. You know, Wayne Simmons one game. If Wayne Simmons isn't working, you have Kyle Clifford. Like they do play semi-similar games. Maybe Simmons is a little more skilled than Kyle Clifford, but I think the physicality they bring to the game will be important when it comes to playoffs. But yeah, no, Simmons has not looked great recently.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I wouldn't mind if, and I'm going to use the Kawhi Leonard example again, as I always have. I don't mind. Pardon?
He's a fun guy.
Yes. I wouldn't mind load management with Spezza or Simmons. I think, okay, first with Spezza, it is the age. It is kind of a skillful guy. He's already had a bit of a healthy scratches here and there, but I wouldn't mind that you give him a few days off, especially when you see a lot of the other guys coming back from injury. There's going to be a lot of forwards there that they're going to want minutes. And going into the playoffs, I wouldn't mind if you kind of mix things up. Same thing with Wayne Simmons. I think a big thing, and I'm going to use an example of Lou Lamoriello, when I think it happened 3 times in his career where he decided that he wanted to be the coach of the Devils because he didn't want to make a new hire when he fired the past guy. Right. And he would have all these guys just healthy scratched, and he would only use them here and there depending on the matchup, depending on what was going to happen going towards the game. And he did it both towards a push towards the end of the season and during the playoffs. So 2 examples are Jay Leach or Eric Bolton, who were guys that were, you know, the typical heavy enforcer type guys, but he knew that he didn't always have to use that physicality. Like he was still a guy that wanted that energy sometimes from the fourth line.
Completely unrelated note. Was it not Claude Julien that he fired?
Yeah. And then it was another guy. I forgot his name. Oh, something McLean.
Doug McLean? Todd McClellan? Who's running through
John McLean?
John
No,
McLean?
that's Die Hard.
That's Die Hard. Anyway.
Okay. Something McLean.
Yeah.
I wonder if you guys remember from our last episode. Yeah, we took the week off because it tired from the deadline. I said that I thought the Blues were one of the 2 teams who kind of wanted more from their deadline. I realized I forgot to say who the second was. And I think it was Toronto. Not because they made the move on defense, obviously, and they tried to make the move for Tateri, and then the waivers thing happened. So that was their moving goal. And I remember listening to 32 Thoughts, and Friedman said maybe they were looking for a forward. And I would imagine the perfect scenario, that was Andrew Kopp. I wondered if they wanted to either, if the salary could work and they could hang on to Kerfoot in the same way, if they could maybe have gotten a more surefire thing for the fourth line. We know that they wanted to keep it open for Knives and Abersazy, but I wonder if they wanted to get just one more guy who was a not like a sure thing. You know what I mean? Maybe not like a super sexy, either a guy they could move down if Kopp came in, or like just another set guy. Just because I wonder about Simmons and that.
Well, I think they made that move. I thought it was part of the Giordano trade. I thought that was Blackwell.
Oh yeah, they got Colin Blackwell.
I thought that was Colin Blackwell, and
That's on me. I completely forgot they got him. Completely forgot.
No, it's fine. Because you brought up Nyes and Abruzzese earlier, and maybe it's just me, and maybe I'm just the ultimate skeptic. I don't know if I'm a fan of how much we're talking about, especially Matthew Nyes. And I watched him play. Like I watched his first game of the Frozen Four, and like, yes, he's going to be a great player, hopefully for the Toronto Maple Leafs one day.
Mhm.
But I think saying that they're going to sign him and you're going to put him on the second line and that's going to be your solution is a dangerous game to play. He's 19.
Mhm.
To me, I thought the solution here is you have two options in my eyes. You have Blackwell as an option. And I saw earlier, David Alter tweeted about the lines that they're going to use tonight in about 45 minutes.
Big game.
Yeah, against Florida. First game of the year against Florida. Who scheduled this? I think the two guys you're more inclined to try on the second line rather than Matthew Nyes is Colin Blackwell.
Yep.
And you know what? Maybe he hasn't been the most notable player so far compared to, Labushkin and Giordano, and I think the impact they've had on the back end. Yeah. But I think you give him a few more games, then you give him the chance on that second line. The second guy is Andre Kasha. And right now he's out. And I think a lot of it's very precautionary because he's had issues with concussions and stuff in the past. Yeah. But when he does come back, I don't see why you can't put him on that second line with Tavares and Nylander or whatever combination Sheldon Keefe chooses, because if you're not playing him there, you're probably playing him on the fourth line. And I don't know if that necessarily makes sense for his skill set. I think he'd be much better utilized, in my opinion, on the second line.
I completely agree with like the whole university NCAA aspect of it when you look at depth. So I know it's not always comparable with certain players, but I'm going to think about Matt Boldy, where he comes in for the Minnesota Wild. They know he's going to burn the first year of his entry level contract, but it's not looked at. And maybe I'm just thinking because the Toronto hype sometimes in terms of prospects in the market. Mm-hmm. But for me, Matt Boldy is a good example of how you approach that. So what happens is he gets signed, but he goes to Iowa. They're patient with him, and he stays with the team, eventually gets called up, and he's one of the emergency guys that you put in as a depth player in the playoffs, where I know that's a big push, but it's something to look at as an option where you don't want to just put the guy into the top six. And he didn't play top line minutes. He didn't play second line minutes. He didn't even play third line minutes when he first came in for Minnesota.
You know what I wonder, or what I think it may be, and I'm not saying this is directly a Leafs management thing, but maybe this is an idea that sort of fan bases have started to create here, is over the past few years, we've seen, I can think of three players in like, especially that have come in and been immediate difference makers coming out of the NCAA. I think of, I'm biased, Cole Caulfield last year and look in the playoffs.
Yep.
I remember when Makar and Hughes first signed, Vancouver were must watch, and we saw Colorado and Makar, we're like, holy crap. But we got to remember the echelon of where those guys were. And this is no offense to Abruzzese or Knives or even Jake Sanderson, but who we will talk about later. That's great news for Ottawa. But those are guys who came in right away and were like, we're super duper duper stars. You got to like lower your expectations for everyone, right? And I don't even think those guys came in, and like the Canucks haven't been good for a couple of years. Like there were certain asterisks there. So I wonder if maybe that's why some people are having this idea of, ooh, getting excited. Just got to temper the expectations, right?
I actually think I'd have to double check with Abruzzese at least, but I know with Nyes, I have it up here. I think he'd be a guy who can shake things up on the fourth line. If anything, if he's going to make an NHL impact, I think at this moment, it's going to be on the fourth line. Sorry, I'm a little just getting over a cold.
No problem.
He's 6'3" and 205 pounds. This isn't Nick Robertson, right? When remember we had the discussion about Nick Robertson, and I said, he's young, he's not in his frame yet, he's still growing. Maybe he shouldn't play in the bottom six because that's a little too rough, and that's rough and tough.
Yeah, it didn't make sense.
It didn't make sense. You're not utilizing his skill. I think if you put Matthew Knies even on the fourth line, I wouldn't mind that at all. I think he's just built in a different manner than Nick Robertson is, and I think he'd be better on the fourth line than just throwing him with John Tavares and William Nylander right now.
You could also try for either of them, Abruzzese or Knives, is down the stretch. If you've got like a lead on the team, because if you look at Toronto's schedule, they can't really screw around because I think they have 2 games against Florida, 2 against Tampa, 1 or 2 against Boston and Carolina. The division could be, the seeding. I mean, it might be figured out like the last week of the season in the Atlantic. It's insane. This is because Boston has been playing exceptionally. It's insane. Like the past 30 games, it's incredible.
I like to say that I keep laughing at that picture I keep sending you guys, the STP memes, the Steve Dangle, when you try to avoid Boston when you look at the stat, like that still makes me laugh. Like there's a Star Trek edit for it. So just go back to my point. I wonder if you're up and you have a lead and you get a power play, if you just give Abruzzese or Knives a chance on the second unit or something, just to see what they can do. You know what I mean?
100%.
To see if they can be an option. I think there's a few stinkers in there, like you face Columbus. I'm sure you could try and pull that off. I say that when they've humiliated Montreal and Toronto this year, but I don't care.
Yeah.
But that's fine.
Yeah.
Last thing on the Leafs before we touch on the Habs, because they have some things, a pretty neat stuff. I'd say 2 more things. First off, what did you think of the Justin Bieber jerseys?
Yeah, let's go first.
I actually like them. Like, listen, I know they're not for everybody, and I think there's people out there over the certain age. I don't know what we're going to cut it off at. I'd say 40 plus. It's not for you.
Do you want to know something really funny?
Do you like it?
I like the blue one. I'll talk about the yellow one in a second.
Sure.
On the way back from Montreal, we stopped to see the grandparents.
Yeah.
And my grandfather he's not a fan of Justin Bieber, and he made fun of the jerseys.
Fair.
And by the way, my grandmother listens, so hello.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Hello. I don't mean that disrespectfully, but like, it's just like, it was literally the next gen game.
Yeah.
It's clearly obvious who these jerseys are for. So if you're like Keith Olbermann, get off my porch. Like, it's not for you. Like, it's for the 15-year-old girls who love Justin Bieber.
I liked the black and blue one. I thought it was compared to like I hated that outdoor game jersey. I really didn't like it. Here's why I don't like the yellow one. The moment I saw it, and I've played a lot of Mario 64 in my life, the eyes on it made it look like a star from Mario. And I couldn't unsee it.
Yeah, I saw that too.
I was just like they're going to collect this and they're going to move on to the next level of the game. I couldn't get over it. But like I thought they were creative, and I have been very critical of the Leafs jerseys like since we started the podcast because I thought they sucked, especially like the retro reverse jersey. I hated it.
Yeah.
But like with this, I appreciate them doing something different. But the yellow one, I was just like. It reminds you of Mario.
No, that's fair.
Overall, I think they did a good job with them.
I enjoyed it. I think a lot of it, when Adam also you mentioned the retro reverse, I think a big thing with Toronto is, and I think Montreal has this as well, when they want to try something new, I always feel like they have to find something from like years ago and go like, we're bringing back this heritage idea, or bringing back this classic, or we have to kind of just think about our history before we move forward on what we're going to do. And I know, yes, next gen jersey. So I like that it was something completely different. It's something we haven't seen before. Like I'm looking back on the past, 20, 30 years, the Leafs have never really had like a black dominant jersey. And I don't know, the reversible thing, I thought it was pretty cool. So not saying I'm plus 40, but I didn't know Justin Bieber had a company before the jersey. So when I first saw it, I thought it was like the retro Tim Hortons colors. It's like brown and yellow. Like that's what I thought the first time I saw it.
By the way, shout out to Martha Stewart who this like, oh my mic, oh god, oh goodness,
Oh no.
oh that's not good. I bumped it.
Martha Stewart, who leaked the jersey.
Yes,
Alex, I want to get your take. Is that was that intentional? Was that scripted?
Well, you never know with her past. You never know these days.
Oh my god.
You know what the best part is? My mom loves Martha Stewart.
Jokes, man.
She's awesome. She's awesome.
Is her catchphrase still "It's a good thing"? Like,
I honestly have no idea.
Okay.
But no, yeah, she leaked the jersey. Sorry, I had to make the joke.
So, one bad thing about Toronto losing yesterday is we're going to quickly get the NHL standings up, and we are going to look at the wild card race in the East. I love how yesterday the Tampa were in a wild card spot. I think they won today as well as yesterday. By the way, anyone wondering why it's going to be so crazy right now with back-to-backs and that, and you're wondering, wow, we have a month left and there's 20 games left. Now we're really starting to see the pushback of the COVID rescheduling. Just so you know, that's why so many teams are playing back-to-back today. It's ridiculous. So now the Leafs are in the second wild card spot, 2 points behind the Bruins with a game in hand, 3 points behind Tampa with a game in hand, and they are 9 points behind the Florida Panthers. So, Alex, if we look at this, if you had to choose between, I don't think they're going to follow the Washington, no offense, because they got the games in hand. So if we're being realistic, no, we can still mention Carolina because them and Florida are so close. I didn't realize that. So the Leafs in the first round could get one of Carolina, Florida, Tampa Bay, or Boston. Pick your poison, Alex. Which one do you want?
Okay, so I was talking to Mike before, and he did tell me I had to credit him with the question. So yeah, he called me last night, and he wanted to ask me who I want. He's like, are Leaf fans panicking? I'm like, not really. Leaf fans are not panicking. They probably are, but that's just their general state of like, they're just generally always panicked. This might be a hot take, and I don't know, but I picked Carolina.
Oh, off the board.
Okay. I think I know why, but
is it Frederick Anderson?
Well, okay, so it's a combination of factors.
Okay.
One of them is Frederick Anderson. But I'll stay. Listen, I love Frederick Anderson. From day one of this podcast, I was Frederick Anderson defender. But that being said, he did let in some soft goals when it mattered. And you know, I think he did do that, and I was given the rebuttal of, but he played so many games during the regular season. That is a fair argument, but I will tell you that his playoff stats were always on par or better than his regular season stats. So I don't to me, him being tired, I don't know if I necessarily buy that argument per se, but for a fact, he did let in some soft goals when it did matter, especially those last few years. Mm-hmm. Also, I want to be clear, I'm not crapping on the Carolina Hurricanes. I think we had this discussion over text last night because I didn't tell you my answer, but we did establish that all these teams are extremely difficult to play against.
It's an arms race, yes. It's
an arms race, and it's the playoffs. If you can't beat the best teams, you don't deserve the cup. It's a fact.
Yeah.
I think that the Frederick Anderson effect, plus I think, and people much smarter than me have said this, including the coach of the Carolina Hurricanes, the Leafs and Hurricanes play a similar style game. Mm-hmm. They're better defensively than the Leafs. That's a fact. Yep. But I think when it comes to it, if they're playing their game, the Leafs are more likely to show up. Not only show up, but are probably have a higher chance of winning than, playing against a Boston, playing against a Tampa Bay, and playing against a Florida. And I think for me, I look at that and I say, well, and they're always fun games. Playing against Carolina, always fun, always stressful.
Yeah.
So that's why I picked Carolina, that they play a similar style game to the Leafs. And I think that will, in essence, be an advantage for the Leafs, but it's not really an advantage. It's just an advantage compared to the other teams.
It's a style thing.
And it's just a style thing. And the idea that Frederik Andersen may fumble once again in the playoffs.
What I would love about this potential series, that it is too, people don't say this too much about the Hurricanes. Underachievers lately in the playoffs. Underachievers the past 2 years.
Okay, I'm glad you said it because I didn't want to.
They have. I remember when they got eliminated last year. I'm like, people need to be talking about this more.
Everyone talks about how the Leafs can't get past the Boston Bruins.
Carolina are just as bad.
Neither
James
can Carolina.
Reimer just saw them last year. Was like, oh no. Peter Mrazek's are like, I got away. I don't want to be back with the Leafs. I don't want this. The voodoo. The Canes need to win too. Like it's very quiet. People never talk about it with Carolina because it's Carolina and there isn't the Canadian pressure there. But man, I mean, they got to do it. They got to do it. I mean, they have a pretty damn good playoff performer in Kotkaniemi. Hate it.
As long as he scratched the first couple games.
Yeah, that's what you got to do.
That's when he shows up.
And they still try him on center.
Do you have any short kings around? Yeah, and then just see if they have any tiny guys. How tall is Martin Necas? Sit him too, and then you'll win. It's that simple. Okay. The Canadiens. Jordan Harris has signed. Apparently, he'll be joining the team sometime next week. He didn't go to Boston or whatever, Bergevin. So it was a relief. It's a relief as a Habs fan to see him signed.
I can't. I'll never get over that quote, man. It is what it is. If he goes to New York, if he goes to Boston, then that's what.
Again, you're not even going to try.
Zip it, man. Keep your mouth closed. Like, come on.
Really funny. Like the defensive pairings for Montreal yesterday. I saw them before the game, and I thought this could be a bad game because William Lagesson was on the second pair, and I thought, oh no, it's not going to be great. He wasn't great.
I have a question. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You can ask.
Okay, my question is because Jordan Harris, sought after defensive prospect. What is he? Because we talked about Matthew Nyes. We talked about Nick Abruzzi.
Abruzzo Pizza.
Abruzzo Pizza. Yes. So that plays pretty good. What does Jordan Harris look like going into the NHL?
He's a puck mover. He's a left-handed puck mover. Apparently, a good thing is, and you hear this so much about a lot of players in Montreal are acquiring, speed, good skater, really good at working of straddling the blue line, and apparently really good in the first pass. I've heard first pass more in the past week than so many defensemen have been moving. That's the type of player you expect. He's going to be given a chance to play. I think Mario St. Louis has already said. And I think that was definitely part of the pitch to bring him in because you look at it all of a sudden and don't feel bad, by the way, for interrupting because you lead actually into the point I was going to make anyway. Is tonight against the Devils, Justin Barron does he making his debut. So with Brett Kulak being on and Ben Sherratt, all of a sudden Jordan Harris is going to get a real shot. By the way, Justin Barron, fun fact, was Caden Gooley's defensive partner when they were both playing in the World Juniors.
Legend.
So
Daniel already knew that.
Yeah, and apparently Gooley texted him. So that's what you're going to expect nice. From him. I don't think again this isn't a guy you should expect to come in and play in the top pair right away or anything. He's still a very young man, but he's an exciting prospect who had a good year in Northeastern again. And I think he is the type of defenseman that you would expect Montreal to sort of target and build around in the future. And people should be excited for him. He's worked a power play before. I think he's quarterbacked one. And I think there's even more chance for that because I don't see Chris Weidman coming back next year. So yeah, and clearly he was wanted by the team. So that's what you're going to see is the type of defenseman Montreal are sort of transitioning into away from Sherratt, Edmondson, and Savard. You still need that size on the back end. But he's exactly the type of defenseman that they like, and luckily Bergevin drafted him, and they somehow held on to him against all the odds.
Crazy question I have right now is a follow-up.
Yep.
Okay, he's one of the if he didn't sign, he would have been one of the most sought after defensemen as an NCAA free agent, and he was a 3rd-round pick.
Yes.
Where is he on the Adam Fox meter?
Okay, I'm not gonna not there.
You're baiting him. You're baiting him, Daniel. I know what you're doing.
No.
I see it.
Man, I wouldn't be surprised. I tried to keep my expectations low. Like, even if I said he was going to win the Calder, I thought you'd be safe and say Caulfield gets 25 goals this year. Probably would have smashed that if Ducharme was never a thing. But you know what? I wouldn't be surprised, for example, if he gets time in the AHL next year. Listen, he'll probably start off getting like second power play time if they really want to give him the chance. He's not going to be that level of player. But if he can play in the top 4, which I think he's capable of, then that's a good player. That's what you want, right? So he's going to be an NHLer at the fact that he's not going to be a Norris Trophy winner. People saying that need to just simmer down. Not that I see people saying that, but he's not Adam Fox. So, yeah, okay. Beside that, I think Jonathan Drouin's season may be done. Apparently, he may require surgery on some sort of injury, but he is getting a second opinion. It's such a shame because before he got hurt, he was one of the few Habs producing. Had his kid, so I'm sure once he came back to the lineup under Marty St. Louis, he was looking lost, which was just such a shame. I seriously, guys, am starting to wonder whether they buy him out this year. He's got
Drouin?
1 year left on him. Yeah, I'm really curious about it. I haven't looked at the buyout calculator, which I'm assuming Alex is about to look up.
Yeah.
Because he's on his computer. Lovely. But I wonder if this guy needs a new start. Because honestly, it's just he has had such a rough go again this season. Even if he's obviously sorted out his own mental health, but on the ice, it's been another season where he started off great, and then injuries and have just derailed it again. I feel so bad for him.
It'd be 1.8 for 2 years.
That's manageable. They're trying to cut salary, but I think that's manageable. Especially if you can move Weber in the offseason, and Petrie's going to be gone probably. I think that's manageable.
Can we talk about that for a second? I heard something that really pissed me off.
What?
It was about Shea Weber's contract. Did you listen? I don't remember. I'm catching up on my SDPs because I was a little behind, and I've been sick, so
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about. So Steve Dangle on the SDP said that Arizona tried to go after to acquire Shea Weber's contract.
Yes.
And the league said no. Pretty like it wasn't the way he described it wasn't at the point of there was a trade like agreed to and the central registry said no. It was that they kind of called the league and said, hey, we're doing this.
Yeah. And
the league said, no, you're not.
Yeah.
Man, like that's so I'm trying to decide if it's more upsetting because the league actually did that, or if it's more upsetting that we're in that, like, why do these contracts, like, why are they here? Like we had Chris Pronger be on the books and work for the league. Like, how is just retire, just end it.
What's frustrating is this is the second time in like a calendar year they've sort of made exception of Shea Weber. Remember at first they thought they were faking, that Shea Weber was possibly faking his injury. When that's just disgraceful to look at Shea Weber and the way he's played and like the way he's carried himself to think that they would be faking it. It's very annoying. So what's interesting is I was listening to the Support Athletic, Arpin Basu and Marc-Antoine Godin, on my way back from Montreal today. And they pointed towards it. Maybe Winnipeg swooped in a way with the Brian Little contract. And that may have been a factor. Because remember that the Little contract is a year shorter.
But he needs more money.
Weber. Yeah.
They owe Brian Little more money. Like, unless it's, a few years of the Clarkson and Horton trade where it was about insurance. I don't know if like Shea Weber's contract is insured.
I don't think it is. which I'm
Then
kind of like
maybe-
Nashville. What were you thinking? And I
Then
don't
maybe-
know if afterwards. I don't know if afterwards Montreal can do it in the middle of it, but he signed that in Nashville. Now I think something else like Steve may have touched on it wasn't a great look at the time, and I wonder because Brian Little's kind of been out of the thought of everyone for a couple of years. When I saw the deal, I'm like, oh yeah, because you also got to remember that in his post deadline thing, Kent Hughes sort of said that they felt confident it was going to get moved in the summer. So maybe they were like this thing of, and I think this is what Steve was pointing at too. You look at everything that's happened with Arizona right now, especially the timing of that second Katie Strang and Shapiro article.
Yeah.
Great stuff. That maybe it's like, okay, let's not make ourselves look dumb, but at the same time, then the Brian Little contract sort of contradicts that. To answer your question originally, it bothers me that again Shea Weber's been like, oh no, or that's not it. But I think if it gets moved this summer, then I'm like, whatever. But it was very frustrating to hear him say that. Steve coming an insider lately, eh?
Yeah, I've realized when he's like, I am not like a lot of it. He's like, I'm not an insider, but
Yeah.
He had Brennan Manel. He had John Quenville at the expansion draft. He had one more thing. I don't remember what it is, but he had a few things.
I'd like to say though, and I've mentioned it already, that Brian Little one, I'm looking more into it because I think my initial reaction to it was, why didn't the Coyotes kind of ask for more from the Jets to kind of bury that contract? And I think
they have the leverage.
Yeah, I'm like looking more into that now. And I think too, a good point you mentioned, Adam, was the length when you compare the contracts where the Coyotes were already in this weird situation, well, as they always are in terms of their cap, and Little was just kind of an easier one to swallow, I think.
Exactly.
Because it's not Montreal.
Yeah, no, it's
if it was Montreal, it'd be and Adam Wilde said it, and I think he was spot on. If it was Montreal, it would have been the opening segment to every single show. Hockey Central at noon, or Jeff Merrick, sorry, not Hockey Central, Jeff Merrick show, this show, SDP, like the list goes on. It's Montreal trading Shea Weber's contract to the Arizona Coyotes. That's a story.
After the hometown hockey segment, of course, because that's very important. Anyway, let's go to Belleville, Ontario to learn about where Andrew Shaw played as a 6-year-old. But no, I mean, listen, move it in the summer, please. Move it into the summer. Evgeny Dadonov. So, as you wait, sorry, 1 second before that, I ruined it. I'm sorry. Jake Sanderson signs with the Sens.
Yes.
Big part of their future. Drafted high a couple of years ago. I remember Alex saying, how the hell is he moving up in the draftings? He hasn't played all year. Very great point, Alex. And a question I would still love to have answered.
We don't talk about that.
Yeah, but he's there. That's good for Ottawa. And they need good news after we just ripped them apart at the deadline. Like everyone did.
Yeah. I feel like we didn't rip them enough, but it's okay.
Is Tyler Clevin signed?
Who cares about Tyler Clevin?
Because he's roommates with Jake Sanderson. Like,
who cares about Tyler
Clevin?
Clevin?
Both contracts at the same time because you're like, oh, you guys are both in the same room. All right.
He's not real. Tyler Clevin's not real. He can't hurt me. He's not real. He's only in my dreams.
They donated those 2 picks to the Leafs.
I can't stand Tyler Clevin. I can't. So what were those? Yeah, so they moved down, and that's what they got was Niemela and
Roni Hirvonen.
That's hilarious. Oh, the Sens. Yeah, that's it. That's all you're getting today. Dadonov. So that trade. Oh no. Okay.
No, you're back. You're good.
Okay, good. That was a shame. I'm not touching the mics. I don't know why he keeps doing that. Sorry if you're listening to that. Just killing your enjoyment of the show. I apologize.
Stupid technology.
So as we were finishing up the show is when we had confirmation about the Dadonov deal. But like an hour after we finished, Chris Johns was like, this may not be done. So we're going to be a little late to it. But the trade was voided because it was proved that Dadonov had his 10-team no-trade list, which is on cap friendly. I don't think anyone was surprised about that. Freeman did kind of make a point of, they're 99% right. There could be the off chance, but still, it didn't look good, especially when they have the guy who made general manager working for them, does Vegas. I'm happy I remembered that, but then I listened to STP and Adam Wilde mention, like, I'm not going to get credit for remembering it, so never mind.
Battle of the Adams.
Sorry?
The battle of the atoms and
I
content.
know. I wish I had his talent though as a host. I really do. Anyway, so Evgeny Dadonov turns out he had a 10-team no trade list, and Anaheim were on it. And the trade was with Anaheim. There was proof that he did send his list on time, unlike Patrick Berglund and all that. So the trade got nixed. He has continued to score, including the OT winner yesterday versus Chicago. So we got to Montreal, and I actually got to watch the whole game. But literally every time I had my back turned, I missed every goal except the game winner. I was so mad. Anyway, he gets the game winner. But what's really funny is everything worked out because Riley Smith is now on LTIR, and they activated Alex Martinez, and they had a that Chicago game is must win for them. They do it. It's great. Robin Lehner may be coming back soon, apparently. It's starting to not look as hopeless in Vegas right now. Eichel scored in that Chicago game too. They're not out of the woods yet, but things are starting to look a little better for the Vegas Golden Knights, which kind of sucks because I wanted chaos, but whatever.
It's crazy what happens when you start getting like really good players back in your
Yeah, and you're able to afford them. I think that's a big thing about it.
Yeah.
Yes, and
What a messy situation.
but yeah, it's for me. I don't know. It was just, of course, Evgeny Dadonov scored the game winner for them in a crucial game. Like, of course, something like this would happen after this guy was. Did you see that? I think there was a joke when someone was like, "Man, I don't understand with the league and these reversible jerseys." And then they showed the Leafs one, and then they showed like Dadonov with a Ducks one and a Golden Knights one, like in the same day.
The memes were great.
Yeah, they were great.
You know what I really like about all this too? That Vegas, the team, his teammates are so supportive of him. I thought it was really, really nice to see. You can tell. You know what's so annoying? For the guys in that room, this could be a rallying point for them. Like what happened with Florida and Keith Yandel. That's what's so annoying about this.
Yeah, it very much could be a rallying point. And I guess I don't know when the playoffs exactly start, but day one of the playoffs, they're all going to be there.
If they get there.
If they get there. Yeah.
I'll just quickly, I'll get the standings up so we can get a point at looking at this. Here we can now look at the Western Conference, which is so much fun, isn't it? Ignore Master Chief in the background. He looks great. Okay, so we go look at the wild card race in the East. So the West, I'm done. Okay, so if we look at it. The Blues, by the way, have been not great lately. So right now, if you look at
we still see the East.
We only see the East.
You only see the East?
Yes.
Unfortunately.
Why does it say my screen sharing is paused? Oh, no.
Oh, because you made it full screen.
Why?
Try not making it full screen.
Oh, there. We see it now.
There we go.
You see it now? Okay,
Yep.
Good. So there it is. Excuse the notes. There it is. Everyone knows what's going to happen now. Okay.
No, I didn't see the notes.
We don't see anything else.
Okay, but you
No.
see the Western race,
Yep.
right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Sorry if you can't, if you're not watching the YouTube version of this. Okay, so right now, Colorado and Minnesota are there. Right now, they're looking all right, top of the Central. Nashville are either fighting for first wild card, or if they can catch the Blues, they're going to be fighting for that. So that's the sort of battle there. Vegas right now, we're in the second wild card spot, but what hurts them is they're only a point ahead of Dallas. Dallas have 4 games in hand, which does not help. So if Vegas have to keep going here, they have 68 games played. The Oilers have 2 games in hand, only a point ahead. That's going to lead us to Edmonton. Now, because I think right now that's the best shot Vegas have of making it. Unless Dallas completely dropped the ball. Excuse me. Unless Dallas completely dropped the ball. Okay. Last night, now I was too tired after watching the game, so I couldn't stay up to watch the Battle of Alberta. But the Oilers lost 9-5 to Calgary.
What a game.
Hockey night in Canada. Their goaltending, 'twas never a question of if, rather when. Koskinen gets yanked after letting in 5. Smith in relief allows 4. By the way, shout out again to Jake Allen. You should have gotten him. It does not look great for Edmonton because it is only a matter of time with that goaltending. They could make it still, but I think we can all see what's happening there, and it's surprising no one.
No, it's not. I think we had the discussion last episode, right? Like Great. They added Brett Kulak. With all due respect to Brett
Why'd you
Kulak.
remind me? I forgot.
Sorry. With all due respect to Brett Kulak, he is not going to fix their issues. There are bigger fish to fry in Edmonton, much bigger than Brett Kulak, unfortunately.
History repeats itself.
Sorry, go ahead.
I think history repeats itself, where everyone brought up the Chicago playing around. Everybody was bringing up Winnipeg again, and I admit that the forwards did get better, but just preventing all these goals, and it's a conversation we had before where you can't rely on both of these guys to really kind of get you there. I think Adam, you've mentioned a lot of times before where by committee you replace the production of things. I think simply with the goaltending right now in Edmonton, it's just more of just throw whatever you can at the wall and see what sticks at this point, because you've already gone through this already like twice.
Listen, you could have overpaid to get Jake Allen and really overpaid to make Montreal retain half, and you have him at like $1 million for this year and next, and you could have been golden.
You know what I missed?
Golden.
You know what I meant? You know what? Like I wish didn't come. Like, it didn't come to fruition. They didn't get Charlie Lindgren.
Oh no, they didn't. Oh, he stayed put. An interesting point. Do you know what happened specifically last night to do with the production of one Edmonton Oiler?
McDavid.
Not so McDavid had 2 points, I think, but
2 assists.
So Leon Draisaitl.
Yes.
Leon Draisaitl had a hat trick, which if you don't track goals as much as I do, that puts Leon Draisaitl tied with Austin Matthews for the league in goals. I believe he was a -4, which that's not a knock on Leon, because the first off, that shows that all his points were on the power play, which is fair, but that's not a knock on Leon. But that shows that Leon Draisaitl, former 50 goal guy, MVP, hat trick, and still the Oilers lost.
He was on.
If that is not Edmonton, I don't know what is.
So he was on for 7 of 9 goals.
Oh my gosh!
If I can do the math correctly.
I don't know how in the world that happens. I don't know how in the world that actually happens. I think Kulak was only a -2 or 3, which is good, but
and I say this as a sorry. I say this as a Leafs fan. I went to go look at their schedule to see how they've been playing, and there's a lot of high scoring games when they win in terms of their scoring a lot. That's going to be a problem in the playoffs.
It sounds like the Oilers from the start of the year, doesn't it? We're scoring a lot, we're allowing a lot, but we're outscoring the problems from now, and that does not work in the postseason.
Yeah, as someone who's watched their team lose 5 times in a row in the first round, you cannot outscore your problems.
No, especially if you like the Kings is going to be a fascinating lineup. Because, see, the Kings have a certain player who is very good at shutting down the top elite talents of the league in Phil Deneau. Yeah. 20 goals this year. I love it. Oh,
woo!
Oh,
do you really love it, Adam? Do you truly love it?
I'm happy for him. I actually am very happy for Phil Deneau. I'm very happy for him.
So he'll shut down Connor McDavid.
Yes.
And then Anze Kopitar will shut down Leon Draisaitl.
It's sickening.
And then Quentin Byfield will shut down Ryan Nugent-Hopkins.
That's intense. That's tough. That's tough. But if Doughty's out a while, then maybe that throws a spanner in it. But even if they can do that, well, they have to survive Vegas coming out. Right. If Vegas stay where they are, they play Colorado in the first round, by the way, which is just not fair. That's hilarious.
That'll be a disgusting first round.
That's the rematch. Speaking of returns, that wasn't a return. It would be a return to a rematch of last year's playoffs, but I botched that. I'm sorry. Patrick Lainey returned to Winnipeg last night, or was it last night or the night before?
A few nights ago.
I'm just dumb. Jack Roslovic was there too, and they had a joint return video package.
And Brad Larson.
Oh yeah, that is so strange. I was wondering watching the video. I'm like, why are they showing Brad? Oh yeah,
disrespect.
It's nice that they gave it to him, and I appreciate the Jets fans were very positive towards Patrick Laine. because maybe they realized the real problems. But I was just thinking, I'm like, could you not have? I almost get it because it's like you can't do a video for Jack Roslovic, but it's kind of awkward if you're like, Lainey, thank you, Jack. But it's like it still looks very strange.
So I sent you guys all those messages. Like his mom was there too. I think you guys saw that too.
I did, yes.
Yeah. I want to read this tweet from Harmon Dial, friend of the show, about how good Patrick Laine's season has been.
Please do.
It feels like Patrick Laine's bounce back season is flying under the radar a bit because of how many other dominant individual seasons we're seeing around the NHL. 25 goals and 48 points in 46 games for Laine, a 45 goal, 85 point pace, prorated over 82 games.
Because he was hurt, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a contract year. Yeah, it is.
Wow.
Oh, he bet on himself. Ooh, Patrick.
Is he going back to Columbus?
I think so.
Yeah.
It's quiet. His team doesn't hate him like the Jets did.
He's their focal point.
And yeah, and I think from the Blue Jackets perspective, you have like he's not the only guy you're building around, right? Like we had that discussion about Columbus, I think pre-deadline. It's like they got all these offensive pieces.
Yep.
Like you just added Patrick Laine last year, and it's like, wow, okay, here he is.
Mm-hmm. Alex Ovechkin is up to, I think it's 42 goals. I think he's 29 from Howe and 122 from Gretzky. But I want to talk about his counterpart, Nick Baxter. So he got celebrated last night for 1,000 assists in Washington. And I guess for pre-game little trinkets, they gave the fans foam apples, like little stress balls. And to celebrate, they all threw them on the ice. For those of you who don't know, because it's a bit of a hockey slang thing, another term for assist is apples. I don't know why, but yeah.
Why is assist dime in basketball? I never understood that.
Is it? I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't know.
Fun fact, when I was at the grandparents today, they were saying like, what are all these weird terms that the people on TV are using? And I'm like, they were saying some terms where I didn't even know what they were.
Let's see it. Let's see if Daniel and I can
answer.
It. Since they listen, we can answer the question. I can't even remember them.
Like, they were so awkward. Like instead of board, you said wall. And I'm like, I've heard the term half wall, but just saying like instead of boarding, they called it like a wall hit. And I'm like, wait, who? I'm like, who have you heard say these people should be thrown off of TV?
Corn wall?
Not a corn wall. No.
Cornwall.
What a great player. By the way, the guy sitting next to me at the Habs game, his
this guy.
Moritz Seider is his rookie of the year.
Is he a Canadiens fan?
He was a Canadiens fan.
I like this guy's like a reoccurring guy now. On this episode.
I feel like next episode he's gonna be like, remember that guy I was telling you about? And then he just spit something new out. I'm like, oh, I love it.
He calls in.
You always meet interesting people at games.
You do. I've met a few. I met a guy who looked really much like Charlie Lindgren. That was the first time that the Bell Center ever hosted the Golden Knights. Fun fact, that game. Oh. And I remember Jeff Petrie got his jockstrap taken off for a goal. Montreal won the game, of course, but I remember that vividly. Hasn't changed with Petrie. I shouldn't say that. Get well soon because he's out indefinitely with a lower body injury. Serious questions as to whether he's played his last game as a Hab, which is going to be kind of sad. But it's time to go. It's time for everyone to move on. To finish off the show, from 32 Thoughts, the blog, thought number 7. No guarantee it happens, but I do believe, this is Elliot Friedman saying this, I do believe Claude Giroux is doing his research on Ottawa. Now, apparently, so he's from the Ottawa area, which everyone thinks he's French, but I think he may be from like Gatineau or it's something weird. Apparently, he's building a house there, so maybe he goes to Ottawa to retire, which I think would be a fine move for the Sens if he can bring Claude Giroux in. Claude, why not go somewhere where you could probably go ring fishing for a couple of years like Hossa did?
I don't want to dump on the Sens. Like, they do need a number one center. Like at this moment, I think that's their dire number one need. I think they would admit it themselves. I see Sens fans talking about it all the time about this need for a number one center. And I mean, he's an aging number one center, but I think it's a nice guy to have around.
Yeah, he's still incredible. Yeah,
exactly. Like with the likes of Josh Norris, Stutzla, for sure I'm forgetting someone and they're going to roast me for it, but you got the young guys there who, it'd be nice to have Claude Giroux around. They don't have that presence, I think.
What position does Tyler Boucher play?
The left wing.
Oh, left wing. Oh, never mind. And to give credit, does Drake Batherson play wing or is he a center? I think he's a winger.
I'm going to double check.
Alex Wormington. Right, no, he's the
winger.
Right?
He plays the wing.
Yeah.
Like Josh Norris, you mentioned him. He's a really good player, but is he number one? Imagine Norris is good, but imagine him as your second line center.
Yeah. Batherson does not play center, according to Cap Friendly.
Weird. That's a guy. Imagine, because what we don't talk about in Ottawa is like Jake Batherson was having a really good year, but he got hurt. I want to say Norris missed some time. If they can build up the center of their lineup and fix that defense, and then maybe Matt Murray can stabilize his game. He's bounced back well this year. Then maybe the Sens can finally take that next step forward that Dorian thinks that they're on. You know what? We rip on them, but for their fans, I really hope the Sens take a step forward. I really do.
I think we can all agree on this. We're not ripping on the players. We're ripping on who.
I will still criticize Claude Giroux for signing there because I don't get it.
Sure, yeah.
Unless he wins a cup with Florida, then it's like, okay, cool, never mind. But it's weird, man. It's weird. They're a weird team in the sense. They're weird. They've always been kind of weird, haven't they?
A little bit.
Daniel, what do you have to say? Do you like what do you think of Claude? What do you think of him going to Ottawa? That's kind of weird, isn't it? It's weird.
I don't know, kind of nowhere, to be honest. For me, I actually did not know that fact you mentioned about Gatineau, or not the speculation that he is from the area there.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm so focused on the fact that he is on a team he wanted to go to. He's excited again, and the Panthers, I don't know. They are facing the Leafs right now, and I believe it is 1-0.
Yeah.
So
for who?
We'll see.
Toronto.
Good
score. Was it Scorbin Riley? I saw that tweet.
I've never seen that, but I believe you.
But anyways, I don't know. That'd be kind of weird. I don't think he goes there unless they give him like $9 million a year.
And that won't happen. I just want to make you guys aware of a score right now. The Pittsburgh Penguins are playing the Detroit Red Wings.
Oh my God.
And it's 10-2 Pittsburgh with 12 minutes to go in the third.
And Kenny Malkin has a hat trick, guys.
He has a hat trick. Kasperi Kapanen has a goal.
3 points for Letang, 3 points for Sid, three points for Teddy Bluger, apparently.
Nice.
Oh my God. What happened? Man, this is wow. Yzerman's he's gonna hurt someone.
Yeah.
Shout out to Larkin and Vrana, who have the goals. That is
I just want to point that out.
I'm sorry to go back to the Leafs, but congratulations, David Kampf. 300 career games.
A guy I didn't hear, I've never heard of until last year. I had never heard of until last year.
I only heard him in the NHL video games.
Also, fair enough. I want to give a shout out to the Sabres who are giving it to the Rangers. It's 4-4 right now. Go Sabres.
I heard that someone blew a lead. The Rangers blew a 2-0 lead.
Nothing? Yeah. Well, that's embarrassing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like Rasmus Asplund has a goal, guys. Rasmus Asplund. Man, if the Habs ever got Rasmus Asplund, I'd be such a happy person.
I don't know if you were going to bring this up for the Habs, but I saw there's the Colin White stuff in 32 Thoughts.
I meant to transition in the Sens thing.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's just like because people were speculating maybe he gets bought out and he gets a fresh chance. I'm like, I don't want that contract. I just bring him in for I just
want to say how right we were from the beginning.
Oh, about how they were going to trade him before a certain point of his contract? Yeah, we nailed it. The Sens are so predictable. It's hilarious.
It's just awesome. Like sometimes things are happening where it's like, oh wow, we might have just called it from the beginning.
So
Like,
what
I love it.
exactly is it? He has signing bonuses or is trade protection? Or I remember we said there was a certain exact point, like you say, that he was going to get traded. But what was the exact thing of it?
So okay, so he has no signing bonuses, all straight salary. He's in the third year of a 6-year deal.
Yep.
The first 2 years, base salary $4 million. Years 3 to 5, 4.75 million, and the
here,
last year,
Yep.
6.25 million.
They are so predictable. Okay. Wait. How long? How much term does he have left right now?
3 more years after this one.
Yeah. Okay. Buy him out, please. I don't want that.
I just
If they're
remember when
doing that means they better be trading Dvorak because that's expensive. I don't like that.
I never understood that Colin White extension.
Well, he was.
To be
here's
honest,
the thing.
because he was decent. I know that. It's just like the 6 years was just kind of weird to me.
Yeah.
It's like, well, let's bank on this guy, but I don't know.
I believe he signed the extension. I'm just looking at his stats now after a year where he put up 41 points in 71 games.
Probably think he's on the up. Listen, I trust Kent Hughes, and I wouldn't be surprised if someone gets out of Ottawa and is better. I don't love the number. I don't
it's a
love
big
the number. Which, first off, shout out Kent Hughes for getting one of his clients a hilariously good. Was it Benoit Pouliot, by the way, who was like, "Oh yeah, Hughes is great. He got me this crappy deal. This really, really good deal when I had a really bad year."
Oh, when he signed with the Rangers, right? Like
I think so.
3-4 year deal.
So Kent Hughes knows how to get his agent some good money.
I mean, okay, Colin White maybe wouldn't be bad at him. Like he's 25.
Yeah, I'm sure.
It's just a number.
It's
Yeah.
just the thing is like, what can he do under Maurice St. Louis? And if he can be a capable second line center, it's a big thing. I wonder on how it depends on how they draft. Like I think Hughes made it clear he's not going by position. He's doing best player available, which is how you should do it. So I think it depends on what kind of player they get at the draft. I'm not going to say who to jinx it, but there's a centerman or two that's pretty good in the draft this year. So remind me, the new draft rules, is it that if you win 2 straight years, you're ineligible, or is it if you win first overall or you win a pick and are you disqualified after that? Because I was kind of thinking, I'm like, what if the Habs win a lottery pick next year? Does that mean they're ineligible next year for the Bedard draft?
I'm gonna
changed it.
Go look right now. Yeah, you're right. They did change it.
Because people were joking, the Coyotes could get both. I'm like, yeah, but can they?
So these are the changes that are going to be made starting in 2022. Teams will be restricted from moving up more than 10 spots if it wins one of the lottery draws. Second, teams cannot win the lottery more than twice in a 5-year period.
Okay.
Wins in the lottery prior to 2022 will not be counted.
Okay. So theoretically, a team like Seattle or Arizona could win Bedard and Wright, but then in the third year they would be ineligible. So if they finish last, they would be automatically bumped down to third then.
I think so.
I would. Yeah. Okay.
That would make sense.
That's hilarious. Okay. Well, I think we can end it there. Alex, you got my picture, by the way, right? To be the thumbnail. Did I say that? Okay.
Yeah, we all saw it.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Thank you for listening. Check out the show wherever you listen to your podcasts. They're all there. Especially YouTube. That's fun. Check out our own social media stuff. That'll be in the link in the description. My YouTube channel. Alex's stuff for I almost called them the Seahawks. It's the Nighthawks.
Nighthawks.
Daniel's Gubs for CJRU. Canada going to Qatar. Let's go.
Congrats.
Right now, I bet, the cold at BMO Fields was Jamaican the crowd crazy. Hey, and we will see you later.